In the center of Europe is a remarkable country that preserves a true medieval charm rarely found elsewhere on the continent. This country is the Czech Republic, also called Czechia, home to nearly 11 million people. It has no coastline and is surrounded by several neighboring nations. Covering an area of around 78,000 square kilometers, the Czech Republic and especially its capital city are convenient for travelers to explore. Today we're diving deep into the essence of Czechia. The Czech Republic, despite being a landlocked country in the very center of Europe, offers what might be called free-spirited beaches. Along the lakes and rivers throughout Czechia, you'll discover numerous spots where people gather to swim, sunbathe, and connect with nature in the most natural way possible. Places like Křižíkové Lázně in Prague are specifically designed for those who appreciate freedom from societal constraints. These are beaches where visitors can unwind without worrying about dress codes or social expectations. Unlike the crowded, free-spirited beaches found in coastal countries like Greece or Spain, Czech versions offer peaceful, secluded environments away from tourist masses. Despite having just over 10.8 million people, representing less than 1% of the world's population, the Czech Republic produces approximately 13% of the global adult film industry. It places Czechia alongside Hungary as one of Europe's leading producers in this sector. Walking through Prague's historic streets, you might unknowingly encounter someone who has achieved international recognition in this industry. Many Czech women choose to enter this profession voluntarily, seeking financial opportunities while maintaining high quality of life standards. Every April 30th, known as Witch Night, the Czech Republic transforms into a mystical landscape of bonfires and ancient traditions. During the witch-burning festival, communities create straw dolls representing witches and ceremonially burn them in large fires. People dress in costumes, dance, and sing around the flames, creating an atmospheric celebration that connects modern Czechs with their ancestral heritage. Another interesting custom in Czech Easter traditions that highlight the special relationship between men and women in Czech culture. Unlike most countries worldwide, Czech women actually request that their men lightly tap them with willow branches while singing special songs. May 1st brings another romantic tradition where couples express their love beneath cherry trees before heading to local pubs. At these establishments, looking directly into each other's eyes while toasting is considered essential. But first, like always, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell down below. It helps us out tremendously with the reach of this video. Thank you, best of followers. A toilet museum featuring approximately 1,800 artifacts spanning centuries of human hygiene history. This unique museum places the Czech Republic alongside the United States, China, and Japan. The museum displays everything from simple porcelain bowls to elaborate gold-plated chamber pots and 20th-century earthenware pieces. Visitors can explore toilets of every size, style, and historical period imaginable. What makes this collection truly extraordinary are the famous former owners of specific pieces. The museum houses chamber pots once owned by historical figures including Napoleon Bonaparte, Abraham Lincoln, Emperor Qianlong of China, and even fixtures recovered from the legendary Titanic. These artifacts carry the weight of history and provide unique connections to some of the world's most influential people. Comment number 4 below if you want to visit the historic toilet museum at least once. Speaking of celebrating relationships and human connections, the Czech Republic has created an entire week dedicated to love and marriage, though the reasons behind it might surprise you. Every February, the Czech Republic celebrates National Marriage Week, a unique tradition of love and commitment that brings together couples of all ages. Picture couples from young newlyweds to 80-year-olds coming together to experience practice weddings or even second ceremonies. This gives couples another chance to walk down the aisle and renew their vows with fresh enthusiasm. The Czech Republic became the second country to adopt this tradition after the United Kingdom, bringing distinctive Czech energy to the celebration with nearly 100 activities scheduled throughout the year. The highlight that everyone anticipates is the Bridge of Love in Sokolov, where couples bring padlocks, secure them onto the bridge, and throw the keys into the river below. But why does the Czech Republic need such an elaborate celebration of marriage? The answer reveals a sobering reality about modern Czech relationships. The country maintains one of Europe's highest divorce rates. Around 40% of Czech marriages end in divorce. Czech marriages last an average of just 13 years before ending in divorce court. Through events like National Marriage Week, the country hopes to encourage deeper connections between partners and remind couples of the original reasons they fell in love. The goal is reigniting romantic sparks in an era when maintaining long-term commitment seems increasingly difficult. Yet, for all its efforts to strengthen marriage, Czech society also has another passion, one that unites almost everyone, regardless of age or background. Beer isn't just a beverage in the Czech Republic, it's an essential element of culture, social interaction, and daily life. The country consistently ranks as the world's highest consumer of beer per capita. Czechs drink an average of about 128 liters of beer per person per year, which equals nearly a pint a day for every man, woman, and child. No other country comes close. The country produces some of the world's most famous beer brands, including Budweiser and Pilsner, names that have become synonymous with quality brewing worldwide. Czech brewing traditions date back centuries, creating rich cultural heritage built around craftsmanship, social gathering, and community celebration. The Czech Republic became the first country to establish a dedicated beer museum and regularly organizes events and festivals celebrating brewing culture, such as the renowned Pilsner Festival. Beer accompanies virtually every social occasion in Czech life, from family gatherings to traditional festivals, business meetings to romantic dates. Czech pubs serve as community centers where people discuss politics, share stories, build friendships, and maintain social connections that strengthen the fabric of society. However, Prague's most famous landmark carries a much darker legend that has captured imaginations for over 6 centuries. Standing majestically in Prague's Old Town Square rises one of the world's most famous and mysterious timepieces, the astronomical clock. This 6th-century-old marvel represents far more than simple timekeeping. It serves as a symbol of Prague's rich history and medieval engineering excellence. The clock's intricate mechanisms track movements of the sun, moon, and zodiac signs, making it one of the oldest functioning astronomical clocks anywhere in the world. According to traditional stories, if the clock ever stops working, disaster will befall the entire city of Prague. This legend adds mystical atmosphere to the clock's already impressive presence and draws millions of curious tourists to Old Town Square every year. Every hour, the clock presents the famous Walk of the Apostles, when the 12 apostles appear in procession through special windows. This hourly performance has captivated audiences for centuries, creating a sense of connection between modern viewers and medieval traditions that continue to thrive in contemporary Prague. The clock may be old and mysterious, but Czech life is modern, free, and full of quirks. Czech society presents fascinating contradictions between outward appearances and underlying realities. While people may appear positive and happy based on facial expressions and general demeanor, many deal with significant economic concerns and social pressures that affect daily life throughout the country. Despite economic challenges, Czech people demonstrate remarkable friendliness toward strangers. Making eye contact with someone, even a complete stranger, typically results in warm greetings, willingness to pose for photos, and genuine smiles. This openness creates welcoming atmospheres for visitors and contributes to the country's reputation for hospitality. One striking characteristic of modern Czech society is the prevalence of tattoos, particularly among people under 25 years old. Walking through any Czech city, visitors will notice tattoos on approximately 1 out of every 3 people they encounter. This trend reflects broader attitudes toward personal freedom and self-expression that characterize contemporary Czech culture. The Czech Republic ranks among the most secular countries in both Europe and the world. 91% of young people aged 16 to 29 identify as atheists, surpassing rates found in other notably secular countries like Estonia and Sweden. Approximately 40% of the total population claims no belief in any deity whatsoever. Among the remaining population, choose not to discuss their religious beliefs or prefer to keep such matters private. Those who do identify as religious are primarily Christians or Catholics, though they represent a small minority of Czech society. This widespread atheism traces back to the communist era following Soviet occupation of Czechoslovakia. Communist leaders, similar to those in countries like Albania, imposed strict bans on religious beliefs and practices. During this period, Czech people gradually distanced themselves from organized religion, and this separation became deeply ingrained in society over several generations. The communist legacy created a culture where religion holds minimal influence over daily life, politics, or social decisions. This secular orientation affects everything from government policies to personal relationships, creating a society where rational thinking and individual choice take precedence over traditional religious guidance. But this freedom from religious influence intersects with economic realities that shape how ordinary Czech people actually live their daily lives. The minimum monthly income for someone working a full 40-hour week in the Czech Republic is approximately 19,000 Czech korunas, which equals roughly 750 euros. However, local research indicates that average gross monthly salaries can reach up to 40,000 Czech korunas, approximately 1,600 euros for workers across various industries. Income taxes in the Czech Republic range from 15 to 23%, which significantly impacts take-home pay. Even professionals with specialized skills and advanced education typically earn between 2,000 to 3,000 euros per month after taxes, which may seem attractive when converted to other currencies, but tells only part of the economic story. The cost of living in Prague and other major Czech cities means these earnings don't necessarily translate into luxurious lifestyles. Current rental prices reveal the financial challenges facing many residents. Sharing an apartment with multiple roommates might cost around 8,000 Czech korunas monthly, making it relatively affordable for young people and students. However, renting a private 1 or 2 bedroom apartment of at least 40 square meters costs approximately 25,000 Czech korunas per month, close to 1,000 euros. This means housing expenses can consume nearly 2/3 of an average salary, creating significant financial pressure for individuals and families seeking independent living arrangements. While Prague remains more affordable compared to cities like London, Paris, or Munich, the ratio between salaries and living costs creates challenges for many residents. Young professionals often live with roommates well into their 30s, and many families struggle to afford larger apartments or homes in desirable neighborhoods. Food costs, transportation, and utilities add additional expenses that further stretch household budgets. Despite these economic pressures, many Czech people maintain active social lives centered around affordable activities like visiting local pubs, attending free cultural events, and enjoying the country's abundant natural spaces. These economic realities help explain why the Czech Republic attracts so many international residents seeking better opportunities and different lifestyles. The Czech Republic hosts approximately 1 million foreign residents, creating a vibrant multicultural society that enriches the country's already diverse cultural landscape. This substantial international community represents nearly 10% of the total population, making the Czech Republic one of Europe's most internationally diverse nations. Many expatriates are drawn by the relaxed lifestyle, rich historical heritage, and strong sense of community that characterizes Czech society. The combination of affordable living costs, quality healthcare systems, excellent public transportation, and growing job markets creates attractive conditions for international professionals, students, and retirees. Czech hospitality and friendliness play crucial roles in making foreigners feel welcome. Local people, including Czech women known for their openness and charm, eagerly share insights about cuisine, cultural traditions, and hidden gems that typical tourists never discover. This creates environments where expatriates don't simply feel like foreigners, they become part of extended international families. Cities like Prague and Brno feature thriving expatriate communities that celebrate diversity while embracing distinctly Czech lifestyles. These communities organize everything from international food festivals to language exchange programs, and professional networking events to outdoor adventure groups that explore the country's natural beauty. Seasonal traditions create strong connections between international residents and Czech culture. Expatriates participate in mushroom-picking adventures during autumn, attend traditional music festivals throughout Prague, and join local celebrations that mark important cultural moments throughout the year. The Czech Republic offers abundant recreational opportunities that appeal to international residents. Activities range from kayaking along the scenic Vltava River to hiking through lush forests, exploring medieval castles to attending world-class concerts and theater performances in historic venues. This international community isn't simply a collection of foreigners living temporarily in the Czech Republic. It represents a thriving network of people who have genuinely found new places to call home. Many expatriates establish permanent roots, start families, and contribute to Czech society while maintaining connections to their countries of origin. But living in the Czech Republic means adapting to some unique cultural practices that reflect the country's deep connection to nature. One of the most distinctive aspects of Czech culture involves the national enthusiasm for mushroom foraging. Czech families collectively gather approximately 8 kilograms of mushrooms from natural areas each year, making this activity a significant part of food culture and family traditions. In Czech culture, mushrooms are traditionally known as the poor man's meat because they provide protein and nutrition for families who cannot regularly afford expensive meat products. Families who face economic challenges often venture into mountains and forests to gather mushrooms that become essential ingredients in soups, stews, and other hearty dishes. Mushroom foraging also serves as a popular recreational activity that brings families together in outdoor settings. Parents teach children how to identify edible varieties, where to find the best specimens, and how to prepare traditional mushroom dishes that have been passed down through generations. The Czech Republic ranks among Europe's safest countries, with various international sources placing it within the top 10 safest destinations on the continent. In Prague, police presence remains minimal because crime rates stay remarkably low. Officers rarely need to intervene except in situations involving intoxicated individuals or minor disputes. Some patrol cars don't even contain officers, serving more as visual deterrents than active law enforcement tools. This low-crime environment creates atmospheres where residents and visitors can explore cities and countryside without significant safety concerns. Czech cities maintain exceptionally clean and well-maintained environments. Road conditions remain modern and well-constructed, while litter levels stay remarkably low throughout urban and rural areas. Prague, as a major tourist destination, ensures that every street, park, and area surrounding museums stays meticulously maintained. Municipal workers begin cleaning streets early each morning, while shop owners take pride in keeping their storefronts clean and attractive. This commitment to cleanliness and safety creates environments that complement the beautiful architecture and enhance the overall experience of living in or visiting the Czech Republic. But Czechia is not just about forests and safety, it also boasts a treasure that has fascinated the world for centuries. The Czech Republic's Bohemian crystal products have achieved worldwide recognition for exceptional quality and artistic excellence. Glassmaking has flourished in Bohemia for over 800 years, with skilled artisans producing some of the finest crystal pieces available anywhere in the world. Whether seeking unique souvenirs or stunning decorative pieces for homes, Czech crystal stands out for its elegance, craftsmanship, and artistic sophistication. The techniques used to create these masterpieces pass down from generation to generation, preserving traditional methods while incorporating modern innovations. Even in today's technologically advanced world, Bohemian crystal production retains its artisanal character through traditional glass-blowing techniques and meticulous decoration by master craftsmen. Each piece represents hours of skilled labor and centuries of accumulated knowledge about working with crystal and glass. Visiting crystal factories, particularly those in Karlovy Vary, allows people to witness firsthand how these intricate pieces are created. Visitors can watch artisans at work, observing the glass-blowing process and seeing how craftsmen cut elaborate designs into finished pieces. Each piece of Bohemian crystal tells stories of craftsmanship, cultural heritage, and artistic beauty that connect modern consumers with historical traditions. The crystal chandeliers, wine glasses, and decorative pieces have earned such high regard that they appear in royal palaces and luxury hotels throughout the world. The Czech Republic reveals itself as far more complex and fascinating than most people ever imagine. From beaches without oceans to the world's highest beer consumption, from medieval clocks with supernatural legends to modern industries that surprise global observers, Czechia offers experiences that challenge expectations and create lasting memories. These 12 facts barely scratch the surface of what makes Czech culture so unique and compelling. What makes Czechia so fascinating is not just its unusual customs or historical curiosities, but the way its people embrace them. Which part of the Czech Republic would you want to experience first? Let us know below. We always look forward to hearing more from you. And don't forget to hit subscribe, turn on notifications bell so we can see you again in our next video. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. I hope you enjoyed it. Your support truly means the world. Wishing you the best of luck. Have you ever wondered what happens when a country has a polar bear jail, offers wives as hospitality gifts, and builds landing strips specifically for UFOs? From ancient Inuit traditions that might shock you to modern marvels that defy logic, this is Canada, where the impossible becomes everyday reality. The land of extremes and impossibilities. Canada is so massive that it's the second largest country in the world, yet so sparsely populated that you could fit the entire population of Canada into the state of California and still have room left over. The name Canada itself comes from the Iroquois word Kanata, meaning settlement, but ironically, most of this settlement is completely empty wilderness. In the northern regions, temperatures regularly drop below -30 degrees Celsius. The permafrost has created situations throughout Canadian history that sound like something from a horror movie. The dark reality of frozen ground. In many northern Canadian communities, the ground becomes so frozen during winter that it's literally impossible to dig graves. The permafrost creates a layer of earth harder than concrete. So what do you do when someone dies in the middle of a Canadian winter? Historically, residents in places like Yellowknife, Kuujjuaq, and Manitoba had to store deceased individuals in garages and cellars during the winter months, waiting for summer when the ground would finally thaw enough to allow proper burials. While modern refrigeration facilities have largely solved this problem, this reality was a normal part of life for generations of Canadians living in the far north. The permafrost affects everything in northern Canada, from construction to agriculture to basic human activities we take for granted. Buildings must be specially designed to prevent their heat from melting the permafrost beneath them, which could cause catastrophic structural collapse. In the winter, the entire northern part of the country freezes, with temperatures once dropping to record lows below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. In contrast, summers are short but pleasant, with southern regions like Ontario and British Columbia seeing temperatures rise above 86 degrees Fahrenheit to 30 degrees Celsius, easing the harsh cold of the north. The Amish paradox in modern Canada. While Canada is known for being progressive and technologically advanced, it's also home to one of the most traditional communities on Earth, the Amish. These communities, primarily located in Ontario, live according to rules that seem to come from a completely different century. The Amish in Canada follow the Ordnung, a set of unwritten rules that govern every aspect of their lives. They're forbidden from using electricity, modern technology, the internet, or even knowing what social media is. They use traditional farming methods and maintain complete self-sufficiency. Young Amish people go through a period called rumspringa, where they're allowed to explore the outside world before deciding whether to commit to Amish life permanently. During this time, they can experience everything their community forbids: technology, modern clothing, parties, even alcohol and stimulants. It's like a sanctioned rebellion period. If an Amish person decides not to return to the community after rumspringa, they lose all contact with their family forever. They're completely cut off, as if they never existed. Yet despite this extreme consequence, over 90% of Amish youth choose to return and be baptized into the community. So after experiencing the modern world with all its conveniences and freedoms, 9 out of 10 choose to give it all up and return to a life without electricity. The Amish have other traditions. They practice something called bundling, where young couples spend the night together fully clothed with a physical barrier between them, like a wooden board or thick blanket. It's their form of supervised courtship. Amish men grow beards only after marriage, so you can tell a man's marital status just by looking at his face. And they refuse to use buttons on their clothing because they associate buttons with military uniforms and vanity. Comment the number 3 below if you dare to live like the Amish, where technology is set aside and life revolves around faith and family. And if not, share your thoughts with us. The Inuit people and traditions. But the Amish aren't the only community in Canada with practices that might shock modern sensibilities. Let's talk about the Inuit people, often incorrectly called Eskimos. The word Eskimo actually comes from an Algonquian term meaning eater of raw meat and is considered offensive by many indigenous peoples. The proper term is Inuit. In traditional Inuit hospitality, if a man visits an Inuit family's home, the husband might offer his wife to spend the night with the guest as a gesture of extreme hospitality and respect. This isn't about what you might think. It's a deeply spiritual and cultural practice rooted in their understanding of community, sharing, and survival in one of the harshest environments on Earth. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't miss this tempting offer. What about you? If you agree, drop a number 4 in the comments. Because refusing this offer could be seen as an insult, potentially creating serious problems for the visitor. The women in these situations have agency in the decision, and the practice is often connected to their spiritual beliefs and the guidance of their shaman, called an angakok. These shamans serve as intermediaries between the human world and the spirit world, performing rituals for healing, protection, and community guidance. The Inuit also practice ritual partner exchange, but always for religious and spiritual purposes under the guidance of their spiritual leaders. These practices developed over thousands of years as survival mechanisms in an environment where cooperation and sharing resources, including human companionship, could mean the difference between life and death for the entire community. The only ice hotel in North America. Now let's shift from ancient traditions to modern innovations that seem to defy logic. Have you ever wanted to sleep on a bed made of ice? In Quebec, you can do exactly that at Hotel de Glace, the only ice hotel in North America. Every year, builders use over 500 tons of ice and 15,000 tons of packed snow to create this incredible structure that literally melts away each spring and gets rebuilt from scratch. The hotel maintains temperatures around -5 degrees Celsius inside. You sleep in specialized Arctic sleeping bags on beds carved from solid ice. They serve cocktails in glasses made of real ice, and you can even get married in their ice chapel with seats carved from snow blocks. Despite the extreme conditions, or perhaps because of them, the hotel attracts over 100,000 visitors annually, with people flying in from around the world just to experience sleeping on ice. But Canadians don't just build with ice, they celebrate with it. Every New Year's Day, thousands of Canadians participate in the polar bear plunge, diving into water that's barely above freezing as a way to start the new year. This isn't just a crazy stunt. In Ontario alone, the 2023 event raised over 300,000 Canadian dollars for charity. Participants receive certificates, badges, and sometimes even hugs from snow bear mascots. This event takes place in major cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Ottawa, attracting tens of thousands of participants and spectators. For many, plunging into the icy water is not just a physical challenge but also a way to sleep better, reduce stress, and boost immunity, a natural Arctic vitamin. If you've watched this far, we're thrilled to know you enjoyed the video. If so, don't forget to take 5 seconds to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And now, let's pocket Canada's most unusual prison. The world's most unusual prison. Canada is home to the world's only polar bear jail. In the remote town of Churchill, Manitoba, located about 1,000 kilometers north of Winnipeg, residents face a unique problem. They're vastly outnumbered by polar bears. Churchill has fewer than 900 human residents, but during certain seasons, up to 10,000 polar bears roam the area. When bears wander into town looking for food, residents call a special hotline. Wildlife officers respond by firing flare guns or rubber bullets to scare the bears away. If that doesn't work, the bear gets tranquilized and taken to jail. The Polar Bear Detention Center is housed in a former military aircraft hangar with 28 individual cells, each about 3.6 by 4.8 meters. The bears are kept for about 30 days and fed only snow and water to discourage them from returning to town for food. Since polar bears naturally fast for long periods, this doesn't harm their health. When released, they're airlifted by helicopter to remote locations and tagged for monitoring. Repeat offenders get longer sentences. There's a town in Canada where polar bears get arrested, tried, and sentenced to jail time. It sounds like something from a children's book, but it's completely real and necessary for human survival in one of the most remote places on Earth. Engineering marvels that save lives. Along the 4,860-mile Trans-Canada Highway, the government has built 44 special crossings designed not for humans, but for animals. These include 6 green overpasses and 38 underground tunnels that allow wildlife to safely cross busy highways. There are no signs telling animals where to cross, no traffic lights, no instructions of any kind. Yet cameras record over 150,000 animals crossings every year. Hares, elk, deer, wolves, and even small animals like turtles use these crossings instinctively. The system has reduced wildlife vehicle collisions by 80%, saving thousands of animal lives and preventing countless human injuries and deaths. But here's the most amazing part. The animals remember these crossing locations and pass the knowledge down to their offspring. Generations of wildlife now know exactly where it's safe to cross, creating inherited migration patterns that didn't exist before. This system has become so successful that countries like Germany, the Netherlands, the United States, India, and Thailand are studying Canada's model to implement in their own countries. The engineering is so impressive that NASA has captured images of these crossings from satellites, and they're now featured in environmental engineering textbooks worldwide. Canada didn't just solve a problem, they created a model for human-wildlife coexistence that's being copied around the globe. Legal contradictions that make no sense. Canada has some of the most progressive and simultaneously confusing laws in the world. Take regulated stimulants, for example. Canada is only the second country in the world and the first G7 nation to fully legalize recreational regulated product use nationwide. Since October 2018, adults can legally carry up to 30 grams in public and grow plants at home for personal use. The government implemented this policy to reduce crime and keep away from minors. It sounds straightforward, right? But Canada's approach to other issues creates bizarre legal contradictions. In Canada, adult services are completely legal, but purchasing adult services is illegal. Let me repeat that because it sounds impossible. Adult service providers can legally promote their work and conduct business, but their customers could face legal penalties from 18 months to 5 years. The government's reasoning is to treat adult service providers as victims rather than criminals, but critics argue this creates more danger for everyone involved. Imagine running a business where your service is legal, but your customers are engaging in illegal activities by purchasing from you. It's like having legal restaurants where eating is illegal. This contradiction has sparked numerous court cases and ongoing debates about whether the law actually protects the people it's meant to help. A day when an entire city moves. In Montreal, there's one day each year when over 100,000 people move houses in just 24 hours. It's called Moving Day, and it happens every July 1st, coinciding with Canada Day. The entire city transforms into organized chaos as people transport their entire lives from one location to another. Streets filled with people pulling refrigerators on bicycles, sliding sofas down sidewalks, and transporting stacks of books on baby strollers. Moving trucks are booked solid, rental equipment disappears from stores, and even pizza delivery services see massive spikes in orders as exhausted movers need quick meals. What makes this even more remarkable is that, despite the apparent chaos, the system works. Residents prepare for Moving Day like it's a national holiday, which in a way it is. The tradition developed because most leases in Montreal historically ended on the same date, creating this unique annual migration that's become part of the city's cultural identity. Environmental extremes and purity. Canada's environmental statistics are as extreme as everything else about the country. It ranks as the third country in the world with the purest air, behind only Estonia and Mauritius. This isn't an accident. More than 31% of Canada's territory consists of forests, containing over 10% of all forests on the entire planet. These vast forests create air so clean that it's measurably different from most places on Earth. But the environmental extremes don't stop there. Canada shares the longest international border in the world with the United States, at 5,525 miles of boundary that stretches across an entire continent. Within Canada's borders, you'll find Yonge Street in Toronto, officially recognized as the longest street in the world at 35 miles long. But perhaps the strangest street-related fact is that Canada built the world's first UFO landing strip in the town of St. Paul, Alberta, in 1967. The town even has a UFO museum displaying curiosities related to extraterrestrial phenomena. Whether any UFOs have actually used this landing strip remains classified, but the fact that it exists shows Canada's willingness to prepare for any possibility, no matter how unlikely. This openness to the impossible might explain why Canada has 1,467 airports, making it the third country in the world with the most airports, behind only the United States and Brazil. Apparently, Canada is so welcoming that even potential alien visitors get their own dedicated landing facilities. Coffee culture that defines a nation. The image of Canadians lining up in snow to buy dollar coffee from Tim Hortons isn't just a stereotype, it's a cultural phenomenon that defines the nation's character. There are over 4,000 Tim Hortons locations across Canada. In some cities, you could close your eyes, walk in any direction, and bump into one within minutes. Canadians affectionately call it Timmy's, and it's not just a coffee shop, it's an immunity center. The average Canadian drinks about 3 cups of coffee per day, ranking among the highest coffee consumption rates in the world. But it's not just about the caffeine. Tim Hortons locations serve as meeting places where 75-year-olds discuss social issues with friends, where business deals are made over donuts, and where the famous roll-up-the-rim game offers prizes ranging from free coffee to cars. Some Canadian cities even have coffee shops open from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., serving only cold coffee for dedicated caffeine enthusiasts. It's like a caffeinated version of Las Vegas that never sleeps. The national combo of coffee with maple syrup-filled donuts has become more iconic than any fancy European pastry. Architectural miracles from waste. Our final fact brings us to one of the most beautiful examples of environmental consciousness and artistic vision combined. On Prince Edward Island, near Nova Scotia, stands a chapel built entirely from over 25,000 recycled bottles. This isn't just a building, it's a crystal fairy tale that demonstrates how waste can become wonder. The story began in 1979 when Edward Arsenault, a retired electrician, received a postcard showing a house made of bottles in California. Inspired by this image, he spent 6 years collecting bottles from across the region: soda bottles, wine bottles, beer bottles, and perfume bottles. He carefully assembled them into a structure that's both architecturally stunning and environmentally meaningful. When sunlight filters through the colorful glass bottles, the chapel transforms into a dazzling crystal palace that rivals medieval stained glass cathedrals. But Edward didn't stop with one building. He created an entire complex including a bell tower, a smaller chapel, a Zen garden, and a tea house, all constructed from recycled bottles. From a distance, it looks like a fairy tale village that shouldn't exist in the real world. The admission fee is only about 5 to 7 Canadian dollars, with all proceeds going toward maintenance and inspiring future recycling projects. The site has become so popular that artists, photographers, and environmentally conscious couples choose it as a wedding venue, exchanging vows among thousands of sparkling bottles in the sunlight. Wonderful destinations in Canada. Canada truly is a traveler's paradise for anyone seeking an unforgettable getaway. Start at Banff National Park, where you can soak in a 100 degrees Fahrenheit hot spring surrounded by a snowy wonderland. Take in the stunning turquoise waters of Lake Louise and spend the night at the legendary Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel, which has even hosted members of the British royal family. With an elevation of over 4,500 feet and fresh air year-round, it's the perfect retreat to recharge in the heart of nature. Next, head to Quebec City, often called the Little Paris of North America. Here, you can ride a horse-drawn carriage along cobblestone streets, savor French-style duck dishes, and sip espresso beneath the shadow of a centuries-old chateau straight out of a painting. For adventure seekers, Churchill, Manitoba, the polar bear capital of the world, is a must. Imagine seeing polar bears strolling through a hotel parking lot, or watching the northern lights dance across the sky right from your balcony. If you're a nature lover, Vancouver Island and the Butchart Gardens will amaze you with more than 900 blooming flower varieties year-round, lush temperate rainforests, and a royal-style afternoon tea in a fairy tale setting. And of course, you can't miss Niagara Falls, where the Canadian side offers the most breathtaking views in the world. A hornblower cruise will take you right into the midst of the falls, ending your day with dinner at the Skyline Towers revolving restaurant, enjoying a panoramic view of the city sparkling at night. Canada, a year-round festival paradise. Winter in Canada kicks off with the Carnival de Québec, the largest winter festival in the world, held from late January to early February. Here you can marvel at massive ice sculptures, enjoy dazzling nighttime parades, sip on a warm caribou, a traditional spiced drink that keeps you cozy, and even dance under a romantic snowfall. And whatever you do, don't miss the thrilling ice canoe races across the frozen river, a one-of-a-kind experience you'll only find in Quebec. When summer arrives, Butchart Gardens in British Columbia transforms every Saturday night, from July through early September, into a magical light show. Fireworks illuminate the sky, reflect on the water, and blend with classical music, creating a symphony of light and sound you'll never forget. Meanwhile, in Alberta, the Edmonton Folk Festival invites you not just to listen to folk music but to experience it, learn to play traditional instruments, Try your hand at crafts alongside local artisans and fully immerse yourself in Canada's vibrant cultural spirit. Canada, a culinary paradise. When it comes to Canadian cuisine, you can't miss poutine, often considered the soul of Quebec. Crispy golden fries smothered in rich gravy and topped with melting cheese curds create an unforgettable experience. For American visitors, poutine isn't just a dish, it's a unique culinary statement, both familiar and distinct, leaving a lasting impression on anyone who tries it. Canada is also famous for maple syrup, the essence of spring as the snow melts. Locals don't just drizzle it over pancakes, they have a special tradition of pouring syrup directly onto snow to make maple taffy. The process of harvesting sap and concentrating it into syrup is both labor-intensive and inspiring, giving visitors a chance to connect with the country's pristine natural landscape. Don't forget to try tourtière, the traditional French-Canadian meat pie, or cedar plank grilled salmon, a dish as visually stunning as it is delicious. Together, these culinary delights paint a vivid picture of Canada's food culture, where the flavors of the land, nature, and tradition blend in perfect harmony. These 15 facts about Canada reveal a country that defies every expectation and challenges every assumption about how societies function. From polar bear prisons to UFO landing strips, from ancient traditions that still govern modern communities to legal contradictions that seem impossible, Canada proves that reality can be stranger and more wonderful than fiction. The next time someone mentions Canada, remember that beneath the stereotypes of politeness and maple syrup lies a nation where polar bears go to jail, where entire cities move in a single day, where people sleep on beds of ice by choice, and where the impossible happens so regularly that Canadians barely notice how extraordinary their normal really is. What other countries do you think have facts that could compete with Canada's uniqueness? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll consider featuring them in future videos. And don't forget to hit subscribe, turn on notifications bell so we can see you again in our next video. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. I hope you enjoyed it. Your support truly means the world. Wishing you the best of luck. Nepal, often called the roof of the world, may be just about the size of New York State, yet its landscape is dominated by the mighty Himalayas, glaciers, and deep valleys. This matters because the geography of Nepal shapes nearly every part of daily life. For locals, it's normal to wake up needing a winter jacket in the morning, only to change into a t-shirt by the afternoon as temperatures can swing by more than 30 degrees in a single day. At first glance, Nepal seems blessed with natural treasures and world-famous mountains. So why does poverty remain a daily reality for millions? On September 8, 2025, Nepal was shaken when Gen Z protests erupted against corruption, social injustice, and the lavish lifestyles of politicians. The ban on major social media platforms like Facebook, X, and YouTube ignited a wave of anger that had been simmering for years. By September 9, 2025, the government was forced to lift most of the ban. The deeper issue lies in the fact that Nepal has been poor for so long that people have gradually lost faith in any government. Over the past 17 years, Nepal has changed governments 14 times, leaving the country without consistent long-term plans. This constant political instability has weakened development efforts and drained public trust. Geography also plays its part. Only 17% of the land is plains. The rest is rugged terrain, making transportation difficult and isolating the capital from other regions. Without a seaport, Nepal struggles to trade effectively with the world. Natural disasters add even more hardship. Earthquakes, floods, and landslides regularly undo years of progress. The 2015 earthquake alone claimed thousands of lives and destroyed vital infrastructure. Because of this, Nepal depends heavily on remittances from workers abroad, while agriculture remains largely subsistence-based. Even tourism, including Mount Everest expeditions, doesn't generate enough income to transform the economy. Nepal is now considering putting a 35-year-old rapper in charge of leading the country. Comment number 2 below if you think this could open a new era and finally break Nepal free from poverty. What we see, then, is a country rich in beauty but trapped in a cycle of political turbulence, difficult geography, and fragile infrastructure. And yet, life goes on. In fact, the way Nepal measures time itself is unlike anywhere else on Earth. Exactly 15 minutes slower than the rest of the world. That's daily life in Nepal, the only country in the world with an official time zone of GMT 5:45. While most nations adopt round-hour time zones, Nepal chose to stand apart, symbolizing independence and national identity. In remote mountain villages, many locals don't even rely on clocks. Time is often measured by the position of the sun. Families know when to cook meals or send children to school simply by observing shadows. In some areas, even health centers run vaccination schedules according to village time, a rough estimate announced by community leaders. This is a culture comfortable with doing things its own way. Next, we'll look at a group who embody the spirit of resilience and contradiction every day: Nepalese women. In Nepal, women live in a world of striking contrasts. On one hand, they are admired for their natural beauty, with sun-kissed skin, high cheekbones, and a resilience that shines through even while carrying heavy baskets of firewood up steep hills. And on the other, many face centuries-old traditions that still shape their everyday lives. One of the most unusual customs is chapati, the practice of isolating women during their menstrual cycles. Women may be forced to live outside their homes in small huts, separated from their families and daily activities. They are also discouraged from interacting with certain aspects of daily life, such as touching plants or animals, due to concerns that they might harm them. Despite being officially banned by Nepal's Supreme Court in 2015, it still continues in some rural regions. Yet, in other parts of Nepal, women show remarkable openness. Bathing outdoors in rivers and waterfalls is considered normal, done without embarrassment, reflecting a culture where modesty is defined differently than in many parts of the world. And these contradictions aren't limited to women alone. In some remote regions of Nepal, even the very structure of marriage defies expectations. But first, like always, don't forget to support us by liking the video, subscribing to our channel, and turning on notifications. In most parts of the world, marriage is thought of as one man and one woman. But in some remote highland regions of Nepal, marriage can look very different. Here, both men and women may have multiple spouses. For families in these harsh mountain environments, it's often not about romance, it's about survival. In this part of Nepal, it's not uncommon for a woman to have 5, or even more, sometimes brothers. Marriage in Nepal is like the story of Draupadi and the 5 Pandavas. One wife rotated among 5 husbands every night, like a revolving trophy. In other cases, a widow may marry her late husband's brother, keeping property intact and preventing outsiders from taking over. What's your take on multiple wives relationships? If you had multiple partners, how would you keep the love and harmony balanced with all of them? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Weddings themselves can be just as unusual. Instead of gold or jewelry, offerings might be sacks of grain, livestock, or even a man's promise to plow fields for several seasons. The value lies not in luxury but in practical contributions to family survival. And yet, while these mountain communities reshape marriage to meet their needs, in the heart of Kathmandu, another tradition continues, where a child becomes a living goddess. The Kumari tradition honors young girls as living goddesses, believed to embody the goddess Teleju, a protector of the nation. To be chosen is no small thing. The girl must meet strict criteria. She must be from a specific Hindu newer family, free of any physical imperfections, and display signs of extraordinary beauty and spiritual presence. Once selected, her life changes instantly. She leaves her family to live in a palace-like temple in Kathmandu, rarely appearing in public and speaking little to outsiders. For many, the Kumari is a symbol of divine blessing, peace, and protection. But the practice is not without controversy. Critics argue it restricts the freedom of young people, isolating them from normal life. Still, for countless Nepalese, the Kumari remains one of the most sacred traditions, blending spirituality, culture, and national pride into one living symbol. While goddesses walk among the people, so too do sacred animals. In most countries, cows are seen as food. But in Nepal, they are revered as sacred beings and even protected by law. Removing a cow is illegal and can bring a prison sentence of up to 12 years. This deep respect comes from Hindu belief, where cows are seen as the embodiment of the goddess Lakshmi, the bringer of wealth and good fortune. Treating cows with kindness is considered a way of attracting prosperity into one's own life. The devotion goes even further during festivals like Gya Jatra, when cows are decorated with flower garlands and bright powders, then paraded through the streets as honored guests. Families feed them fruit and sweets, almost as if entertaining royalty. There's also a spiritual dimension. In ancestor worship, cows are thought to guide the souls of the departed to the afterlife. Showing respect to a cow is, in a way, showing respect to one's ancestors. Interestingly, while beef is forbidden, buffalo meat is widely eaten, filling the culinary space that beef occupies in other parts of the world. And just as cows move freely through Nepal's streets and temples, another ritual happens in the open as well. This one involves not life but death. In Nepal, cremation is carried out in the open, right by the sacred Bagmati River in Kathmandu. Families come together to perform traditional farewell rituals, offering prayers as part of a ceremonial farewell. When the ritual is complete, the ashes are released into the river, symbolizing liberation from the cycle of rebirth. For Hindus, the Bagmati is considered the sister of India's holy Ganges River, and cremation here is believed to grant instant salvation for the departed soul. It is so sacred that many elderly Nepalese choose to spend their final years living near the river, preparing for this final journey. What often surprises visitors, though, is the atmosphere around these rituals. Just steps away from the cremation fires, people stroll, eat snacks, and even take photos. It feels less like a somber event and more like life and death existing side by side in the same space. This open embrace of mortality reveals something powerful about Nepalese culture. Death is not an ending to be feared, but a passage to be witnessed. While cremation may seem extraordinary, for some people in Nepal, daily life is just as remarkable. Nowhere is this clearer than in the incredible endurance of the Sherpas. For most people, climbing Mount Everest is the adventure of a lifetime. For the Sherpas of Nepal, it's simply part of daily life. These mountain people live at altitudes above 3,000 meters, where thin air and freezing winds are the norm. And their bodies have adapted over generations. Sherpas have slower heart rates and more efficient lungs, allowing them to thrive where most humans struggle for breath. Scientists call it a genetic mutation, but climbers know them as Himalayan supermen. On Everest expeditions, Sherpas carry staggering loads, sometimes more than 100 kilograms, up slopes where tourists can barely take a few steps without oxygen tanks. They set up camps, haul supplies, and often put their own lives at risk so others can chase the dream of standing on the world's highest peak. Without Sherpas, many of the world's greatest mountaineering feats would never have happened. Yet despite their extraordinary strength, most live humble lives, their heroism woven quietly into Nepal's cultural fabric. And there's the story of the Sherpa people. While residents in other regions have to face the challenge of crossing deep valleys using improvised rope bridges. In some of Nepal's most remote mountains, the journey from one village to another doesn't happen by road or bridge. Instead, people travel by cableways that stretch across deep valleys. But don't picture modern gondolas. These are homemade pulleys, iron baskets, and steel cables suspended hundreds of meters above the ground. Locals call them sky buses. No tickets are required, only courage. Everything moves across these lines: people, livestock, sacks of rice, and even coffins. A single loose joint or faulty pulley could mean disaster, yet for many villages, this is the only connection to the outside world. Even more astonishing are the hand-operated ziplines. With nothing but a pulley and bare hands gripping the steel, villagers launch themselves across valleys, gliding at breakneck speed without harnesses or safety nets. It's survival, ingenuity, and trust rolled into one. But if these cableways seem risky, wait until you hear about a profession where people climb sheer cliffs, risking their lives for something sweet. High in the Himalayan cliffs of Nepal, there exists a tradition so daring it sounds more like a scene from a movie than real life. These are the honey hunters of the Gurung people, who risk their lives to collect wild honey from giant beehives that cling to sheer rock faces. Hunters climb cliffs hundreds of meters high using only handmade rope ladders. With one hand, they balance themselves against the wind, with the other they wield long bamboo poles tipped with smoking torches to drive away swarms of enormous bees. Then, with precision and courage, they slice the honeycomb free and lower it in baskets. There are no harnesses, no modern safety gear, just ropes, determination, and trust in ancient skills passed down through generations. The bees they face are Himalayan giants, fiercely protective of their hives. It's common for hunters to suffer dozens, even hundreds of stings during a single harvest. Add the constant threat of slipping on the slick rock and plunging into the valley below, and it becomes clear why this practice is considered one of the most dangerous traditions in the world. But the reward is unlike any other. The honey gathered here is known as mad honey, created by bees that feed on the nectar of rhododendron flowers. In small amounts, it's prized as medicine, believed to soothe pain, calm the nerves, and restore energy. In larger doses, however, it can cause hallucinations, dizziness, and even poisoning. For locals, though, it remains a treasured resource, tied as much to cultural identity as to physical health. Beyond its economic value, honey hunting is a ritual of community. Entire villages gather during harvest season, watching and supporting as their hunters climb into danger. Songs are sung, prayers are whispered, and when the honey returns, it is shared generously among families. It's not just food, it's a symbol of bravery, tradition, and connection to the land. And while honey hunters cling to cliffs, another group of daredevils in Nepal face danger from the skies. If you dream of trekking to Mount Everest, your journey doesn't begin with hiking boots, it begins with a flight. And that flight will likely take you to Tenzing Hillary Airport in Lukla, a place so infamous that it's often called the most dangerous airport in the world. At first glance, the runway itself tells the story. It's only 527 meters long, barely 1/10 the length of a typical international runway. To make matters worse, it sits on a steep slope with a gradient of nearly 12%. Pilots must approach with absolute precision, because there is no room for error. Overshoot the runway, and you'll slam into the mountainside. Undershoot it, and you'll plummet into the valley below. Flying here is not like landing in a modern city airport with autopilot systems and radar. Lukla has none of that. Pilots rely entirely on their skill, their eyes, and their nerves of steel. The flight path itself is unnerving. Planes weaving through jagged peaks, often banking at sharp angles to align with the short strip of asphalt that suddenly appears out of the mist. What makes it even more unpredictable is the weather. In a matter of minutes, skies can shift from bright sunshine to thick fog or violent winds sweeping through the mountains. Flights are frequently delayed or canceled, leaving travelers stranded for days. Those who do make it aboard often describe the experience as equal parts thrilling and terrifying. Many passengers admit to offering silent prayers the moment the plane lifts off or begins its descent. And yet, communities and trekkers worldwide, Lukla remains a lifeline. It is the gateway to Everest Base Camp, the starting point of dreams and adventures. Without it, the journey to Everest would require weeks of grueling travel on foot from distant roadheads. Every landing at Lukla is more than just a flight, it is a performance of survival, courage, and human determination in the face of nature's extremes. For the pilots, it is a daily test of mastery. For the passengers, it is often the most unforgettable few minutes of their entire trip. From perilous skies, we now move to the vibrant ground of festivals, where even dogs, cows, and crows are honored as sacred guests. If you thought festivals were only for people, Nepal will make you think again. Here, entire celebrations are dedicated not just to humans, but to animals like cows, crows, and even dogs. One of the most heartwarming examples is Tihar, also known as the Festival of Lights. Over 5 days, each day honors a different being. Food is offered to crows, who are traditionally seen as spiritual messengers, to ward off negative omens. Dogs, seen as loyal protectors and guides for souls in the afterlife, receive flower garlands, tika marks on their foreheads, and plates filled with treats. For one whole day, dogs across Nepal are celebrated as heroes, pampered and loved by everyone. Cows, sacred symbols of wealth and prosperity, are also honored during this festival, decorated with bright powders and fed as if they were royal guests. The streets come alive with lights, music, and laughter, creating a sense of unity between humans, animals, and the divine. Another spectacular celebration is Holi, the Festival of Colors. Imagine walking through the streets of Kathmandu or Pokhara in plain white clothes, only to emerge minutes later as a living rainbow. People throw vibrant powders, spray water, and laugh together in a joyous explosion of color. Strangers become friends, grudges are forgotten, and for one day the entire nation celebrates life with unmatched energy. Nepal also surprises with newer traditions, like the hot air balloon festival in Pokhara. Over 24 balloons rise above the lake, painting the sky in glowing reds, blues, and yellows. What makes these festivals so extraordinary is how they weave together spirituality, culture, and pure human joy. They show that in Nepal, life is not only about surviving the harshness of the mountains, but also about celebrating every being, every moment, and every connection. And while festivals bring people together through joy, weddings in Nepal bring communities together in a very different way. In much of the world, a wedding banquet might include a few dozen dishes at most. But in Nepal, particularly among the newer community, a wedding is not just a ceremony, it's a culinary marathon. Guests are treated to an astonishing 84 different dishes, a tradition that transforms the celebration into an unforgettable cultural and spiritual experience. This feast is known as Bhoj, and it isn't about extravagance in the modern sense. Instead, each dish carries symbolic meaning. Together, they represent prosperity, hospitality, and the blessings of the community. Preparing such a feast is no small task. Families spend days, sometimes weeks, gathering ingredients, preparing spices, and cooking in massive outdoor kitchens where large iron pots simmer over open flames. The variety is overwhelming. Guests might begin with spiced lentil soup and crispy fried beans, move on to richly flavored buffalo meat dishes, taste fragrant rice preparations, and then end with sweet delicacies like yomari, a steamed dumpling filled with jaggery and sesame. Every dish is served in a specific order, often on a traditional leaf plate, ensuring the meal flows like a carefully composed symphony. But beyond the food itself, the feast is about connection. Eating together is seen as a blessing, binding families and neighbors into one shared memory. Each bite is a reminder of the community's generosity and the couple's new beginning. Guests don't just eat, they participate in a cultural ritual that ties them to centuries of tradition. And finally, in some villages, names themselves tell stories, sometimes of joy, sometimes of hardship, and sometimes of pure chance. A child's name might reflect the very moment of birth. If a baby is born during a rainstorm, they might be called Bara, meaning rain. If the earth shakes during a landslide, the name could be Pahiro, which literally means landslide. In some cases, the name can sound like an entry in a family diary, such as didn't reach the clinic in time. These unusual names might seem humorous to outsiders, but to local families, they serve as living reminders of the exact circumstances of a child's arrival in the world. Birth certificates and official surnames are often an afterthought. Many villagers live their whole lives known only by nicknames given by parents, neighbors, or even by accident. Someone might simply be called Fire Lamp or Carrying Basket, and that name will stick for decades until, perhaps, a formal identity is needed for government paperwork. What's most fascinating is how much emotion can be captured in these names. If parents are joyful, a child might be named Hope or Light. But if the birth came during hardship or fatigue, names like Accident or Bored are not uncommon. It may sound strange, but for many Nepalese families, names don't need to be elegant, they need to be real. We've just explored 15 extraordinary facts that show how daily life in Nepal is unlike anywhere else on Earth. From the towering peaks of the Himalayas to perilous cableways, from living goddesses to open-air cremations, Nepal is a land of breathtaking contrasts. Every custom, every ritual, and every challenge reveals a story of resilience, faith, and ingenuity. What makes Nepal so unforgettable is not just its scenery, but its people, the Sherpas who climb as easily as others walk, the honey hunters who risk their lives for liquid gold, the families who celebrate weddings with 84 dishes, and even the villagers who give names that capture entire life stories in a single word. If this journey through Nepal has surprised you, I'd love to hear which fact stood out most. Was it the Sherpa's strength, the sacred cows, or maybe the unusual time zone? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And don't forget to hit subscribe turn on notifications bell so we can see you again in our next video. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. I hope you enjoyed it. Your support truly means the world. Wishing you the best of luck. We are so glad you are with us today. Please leave a comment, like the video to support us, and subscribe for more videos. See you soon. "15 strange facts about Bhutan where women can have more than one husband." Let's start with something that will immediately grab your attention. In Bhutan, the traditional marriage system is completely backwards from what most of us know. Here's the shocking truth: women can have multiple husbands. And it's not only accepted, it's part of their cultural tradition. Under Bhutan's matriarchal system, wives are free to marry as many husbands as they want. But here's where it gets even more interesting. When a woman marries the eldest son of a family, his younger brothers automatically become her husbands too. Yes, you heard that right. It's like a package deal. Now, men can have multiple wives too, but there are strict rules. A man cannot have more than 3 wives, and from the second wife onward, he must get permission from his first wife. Imagine having that conversation at the dinner table. There's more. In Bhutan, there isn't really a wedding culture as we know it. If 2 people love each other, they simply move in together and start having children. Very few couples actually register their marriage officially. The most fascinating part is how property works. When sons grow up and get married, they move in with their wife's family. All the property, houses, livestock, and land belong to the eldest daughter, not the sons. Women are highly protected by the state, and if there's a separation, men are required to compensate the woman. The 4th king of Bhutan, Jigme Singh Wangchuck, perfectly exemplified this system when he famously married 4 sisters in a single ceremony. Now, Bhutan has been reforming toward monogamy in recent years, but many local regions still maintain these traditional marriage practices. If you are considering having more than one spouses here, make sure you study the laws closely before you plan anything. Want to know why? Comment with the number 4, and we will explain it. While the rest of the world calls it Bhutan, the people who live there have a much more dramatic name for their homeland. They call it the land of the Thunder Dragon. This name comes from the powerful storms that rage down from the Himalayas. Picture this: massive thunderstorms rolling through the mountains with such force that it feels like a mighty dragon is chasing travelers across the peaks. Anyone who has experienced these fierce winds and snowstorms will tell you it truly feels like the wrath of a dragon. Bhutan is tiny, with an area of just 47,500 square kilometers, about the size of Maryland. Despite being isolated in these rugged mountains, most Bhutanese people, even children, are fluent in English. Along with their native language Dongka, English is widely taught in schools. We're talking about a country with an average elevation of 3,280 meters above sea level. Their tallest peak, Gangkar Puensum, reaches 7,570 meters into the sky. This is a land where the earth literally touches the heavens. You've probably heard that Bhutan is the happiest country in the world. But is this actually true, or is it just an illusion? Bhutan is famous for creating something called the Gross National Happiness Index. Instead of measuring success purely through economic indicators like GDP, they measure how happy their citizens actually are. According to their surveys, and 93.6% of Bhutan's population consider themselves happy. In the World Happiness Report, which uses different criteria, Bhutan only ranks 95th out of 137 countries. Why the huge difference? Because Bhutan is not a wealthy nation by traditional standards. The King of Bhutan has declared that gross national happiness is more important than gross domestic product. In their free time, people enjoy simple pleasures. They drink tea, meditate, chant Buddhist prayers, and gather vegetables and walnuts from the forest. They rarely eat meat, preferring vegetarian food. Most people don't care much about the internet, television, or smartphones. They've found contentment in simplicity. When Bhutanese people build houses, the only thing they need to buy from the market is tin roofing sheets. Everything else comes directly from nature. Stones from the mountains, walnut wood from the forests, white clay dug up near streams. Even if someone owns a car, they don't build garages. Cars are just parked anywhere in the village, with no fear of theft. Bhutan has no beggars and no homeless people. If someone is in need, they can literally knock on the king's door to receive direct help. If someone doesn't have a house, they can go to the king, who will grant them a piece of land to build a home and grow vegetables. The country doesn't even have prisons because crime rates are so incredibly low. They've created a society where people genuinely look out for each other. Bhutan is also famous worldwide for its environmental care. In 2015, they set a world record by planting 50,000 trees in just 1 hour. They even have a Ministry of Happiness whose job is to measure the happiness of all citizens and ensure people feel content with their lives. Every Bhutanese citizen receives completely free healthcare. This isn't happiness based on wealth, it's happiness based on community, purpose, and connection to nature. But let's be honest about the challenges. Bhutan's per capita GDP is only $1,400 per year. Youth unemployment reaches nearly 30%, and about 1 in 8 people lives in poverty. Bhutanese people don't work all day like we do. They earn just enough to live on and only go to the market occasionally. Here's a fascinating detail. 50% of men in Bhutan are monks, living in monasteries. Their daily routine consists of cleaning, chanting scriptures, and offering holy water to visitors. Are you impressed by this information? If yes, choose one. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Feel free to share it with your friends too. Help support the channel, and I'm excited to keep bringing you even more fascinating content. So after hearing all this, you're probably wondering, can I actually visit this incredible place? The answer is yes, but it's not easy, and it's definitely not cheap. Bhutan is one of the most isolated countries, and they like it that way. They only have one international airport, Paro Airport. This airport is located about 35 kilometers from the capital, and landing there is absolutely terrifying. The runway is incredibly short and positioned between towering mountains. Paro International Airport is considered one of the most dangerous airports in the world. Only 8 pilots worldwide are certified to land there because of the treacherous Himalayan terrain. Imagine approaching for landing with massive mountain peaks on both sides of your plane. But even if you're brave enough to fly into Paro, you can't just show up and explore. The king has opened the country to tourism, but visitors are not allowed to travel freely. Only one company is authorized to issue visas for tourists, and you must prepay for everything: airfare, hotels, guide fees, tour costs, visa fees, insurance, and more. Bhutan also permits only one airline to operate flights in and out of the country. Hotel rates, whether budget or luxury, are set by the government. To visit Bhutan, you'll need to spend roughly $300 per day. That's not including your flight to get there. Even if you fall in love with Bhutan and want to stay permanently, it's nearly impossible. Only Bhutanese citizens are allowed to purchase land, and the only way to gain Bhutanese citizenship is through approval from the king himself. This exclusivity isn't meant to be elitist. It's Bhutan's way of protecting their culture and environment from being overwhelmed by mass tourism. They've seen what happened to other beautiful places when too many visitors arrive too quickly. Here's something that will blow your mind. Bhutan doesn't have a single traffic light in the entire country. Not one. Thimphu, the capital and largest city, is the only place that ever experimented with traffic lights. But after just 24 hours, they removed the system. Why? Because locals felt that traffic lights disconnected them from the friendly traffic officers who had always directed traffic personally. Instead of impersonal lights, real people direct traffic at intersections. They use hand signals and the sound of horns to keep things moving. It's a much more human approach to traffic management. But here's my favorite part. Their road signs often carry life philosophies instead of standard warnings. You'll see signs that say things like drive slowly, breathe deeply, and enjoy life. That's their way of reminding drivers to follow the speed limit while also sharing wisdom about how to live. This perfectly captures Bhutan's approach to everything. They choose human connection over efficiency, wisdom over rules, and community over convenience. Here's a cultural tradition that will completely change how you think about hospitality. In Bhutan, when someone offers you food, you absolutely cannot accept it immediately. In fact, accepting food right away is considered extremely rude. Instead, you must follow a specific ritual. When offered food, you have to politely decline by saying miyu miyu, which means no, no, while covering your mouth with your hand. But here's the key, you don't actually mean no. This polite refusal must happen 2 or 3 times before you can graciously accept the meal. It's how the Bhutanese show humility and respect for others. The host knows you're going to eventually accept, and you know the host wants you to accept, but this dance of politeness is essential. Interestingly, while refusing food in the US or Europe might be seen as impolite, you won't find a single McDonald's, Starbucks, KFC, or any other major international chain in Bhutan. According to local entrepreneur Choi Wangmo, it's not due to customs or restrictions. It's simply because Bhutan is not a profitable market for these international brands. Every Bhutanese citizen has the right to completely free healthcare, and I mean everything. Whether it's basic medication or complex surgical procedures, the government covers it all. But here's what makes it even more incredible. If a patient needs treatment that's not available in Bhutan, the government will pay for them to travel abroad for medical care. The government covers all travel expenses and healthcare costs for citizens who need to go to other countries for treatment. Imagine if your government did that for you. Unlike the United States or Europe, where private healthcare systems dominate and often come with crushing costs, Bhutan has no private hospitals at all. The entire healthcare system is government-run, ensuring that every citizen, whether they live in remote mountain villages or urban centers, receives exactly the same level of care. In our world of instant digital transactions and mobile banking apps, Bhutan operates completely differently. There is no online banking in Bhutan whatsoever. Instead of sitting at home and making transactions from your computer or phone like you would in the United States or Europe, Bhutanese citizens must visit the bank in person for every single transaction. Need to transfer money? You have to go to the bank. Want to check your balance? Bank visit required. In their world, Bhutan stands as a peaceful oasis where everything moves at its own pace, completely unaffected by the rush of modern technology. If war were to break out, Bhutan would be in serious trouble because their military is intentionally weak and small. Bhutan has no air force, just a handful of transport planes mostly used for rescue and relief missions. There's no navy because the country is landlocked, and there are no tanks either. The total number of troops is incredibly modest, only about 7,500 soldiers, and most of these are honor guards and the king's personal protection detail. Military service is completely voluntary, with a minimum recruitment age of 18. Bhutan's annual defense budget is a mere $10 million, and most of that money goes towards ceremonial uniforms for the troops. To put this in perspective, Russia spends more than $155 billion on defense, which is 38.6% of their national budget. Bhutanese people don't just enjoy chili peppers, they're absolutely obsessed with them. About 90% of Bhutanese dishes are made with butter, and chilies appear in almost every single meal. You'll find every kind of chili preparation imaginable: dried chilies, fresh chilies, sliced chilies, green chilies, red chilies, often cooked together with traditional Bhutanese cheese. One classic dish is sakam pie, made with dried beef, white sakam chilies, and radish. What makes this dish special is that the chilies are cooked whole rather than sliced, creating an intense flavor experience. But the most famous dish is ima datshi, Bhutan's legendary chili and cheese stew. Bhutanese people love this dish so much that they eat it with almost every meal, usually adding extra chilies and pepper for even more heat. They also make cheese into small square blocks and hang them up for preservation. This version is called chogo, and eating a single piece can take up to 45 minutes to finish because it's so tough and intensely flavored. The staple grain isn't white rice like in most Asian countries, but red rice. It has a tougher texture, but that makes sense when you consider how difficult rice cultivation is in a country with the highest average elevation in the world. Bhutanese people also love drinking tea, but not the way you might expect. They typically enjoy black or green tea with a bit of salt, pepper, and a small spoonful of butter. It's like a savory, warming drink that perfectly complements their spicy food. Here's a surprising statistic: the average adult in Bhutan consumes about 8.47 liters of alcohol per year, which is higher than the global average of 6.2 liters. The country has more than 5,400 bars for a population of only 750,000 people. But even their drinking culture has unique rules. On Tuesdays, known as Dry Day, the Bhutanese government completely bans the sale of alcohol in bars. It's their way of promoting moderation and giving people a regular break from drinking. The people of Bhutan are so connected to their cultural heritage that they wear traditional clothing every single day, not just on special occasions. For men, the traditional outfit is called the go, and for women, it's the kira. The go is particularly interesting because it features a large pocket in the front that's not only practical for carrying things like phones, but also cleverly designed to hide a belly if needed. All male tour guides in Bhutan are required to wear the go when working, and when entering fortresses with guests, they must also carry a white scarf as a sign of respect. Bhutanese people wear these traditional clothes when going to work, visiting temples, attending government offices, and for all formal occasions. For government employees, wearing traditional attire isn't optional, it's mandatory. Bhutan is one of the very few countries in the world where you'll regularly see men wearing what looks like a robe or skirt as normal daily wear. Even school children are required to wear traditional dress every single day to school. Social status is cleverly indicated by the color of the scarf draped over the left shoulder. Commoners wear white scarves, while nobles and monks wear yellow ones. It's a visual system that immediately tells you someone's place in society. Their wedding ceremonies are equally fascinating. At a Bhutanese wedding, monks chant mantras to help newlyweds build a strong spiritual bond. There's also something called the forest ritual, where beer is offered to the gods. The remaining beer is then served by the bride and groom to all the wedding guests. Only after these essential spiritual rituals are performed do the couple officially become husband and wife. When it comes to festivals, Bhutan has some of the most unique celebrations in the world. One example is the Jumulhari festival, where at midnight, a group of male dancers emerges from a gate and performs to the rhythm of traditional drums. Wearing only masks and loincloths, they dance specifically to distract evil spirits from the community. Bhutan has some of the most unique bands in the world, and they all reflect the country's deep Buddhist values and environmental commitments. First, raising chickens, cows, or sheep for meat is completely forbidden. This makes perfect sense when you realize that about 80% of Bhutan's population are Buddhists, and Buddhism is the official state religion. People follow vegetarian diets, recite Buddhist prayers daily, and strictly avoid killing any living creature. The no-killing rule is taken so seriously that people are not allowed to kill even a bug or insect that crawls into a hotel room. Hunting and fishing are also banned throughout most of the country, with only a few specially designated areas as exceptions. To protect their organic farming practices, the import of chemical fertilizers is completely prohibited. This means all vegetables are grown without pesticides or artificial chemicals, making Bhutan's food supply naturally organic. Here's something that will blow your mind. Television and the internet were banned in Bhutan until 1999. The king finally lifted this unusual ban, making Bhutan the very last country in the world to gain access to television. The first TV set arrived in June 1999, marking the end of an era. But the most famous ban is on tobacco. In 2004, Bhutan became the first government in the world to completely ban the sale and smoking of tobacco. Anyone caught selling tobacco faces a $1,500 fine. Smokers can face up to 3 years in prison. The year after this law was passed, over 800 people were fined, and nearly half of them actually went to jail. The first person arrested was Sun Nam Singh, a monk caught carrying 180 grams of chewing tobacco. This case caused nationwide outrage because people felt it was too harsh. Under public pressure, the law was slightly relaxed. People are now allowed to buy 300 cigarettes, 50 cigars, or 250 grams of other tobacco products from abroad, but they must present official receipts proving they purchased them legally outside Bhutan. Environmental protection is taken incredibly seriously. Bhutan requires that at least 60% of its territory remain forested at all times. Cutting down a tree without special government permission results in heavy penalties and sometimes imprisonment. If you do get permission to cut down one tree, you must plant 2 saplings in its place. This environmental commitment has made Bhutan the only carbon-negative country in the world. They actually absorb more carbon dioxide than they produce. Mountain climbing is also heavily restricted. Climbing peaks higher than 6,000 meters has been banned since 1994, and all mountaineering was completely prohibited in 2003. This protects both the environment and the spiritual significance of the mountains. The current king of Bhutan, King Jigme Khesar Namgyel Wangchuck, has one of the most romantic love stories in modern royal history. His wife, Queen Jetsun Pima, became famous as the youngest queen in the world when they married. She was just 21 years old at the time. But what makes their story truly extraordinary goes far beyond their age difference. In a country where tradition allows men to have multiple wives, King Jigme made a revolutionary declaration. He would have only one wife, Queen Jetsun Pima, for his entire life. Their love story began with what sounds like something straight out of a fairy tale. When Jetsun Pima was just 7 years old, she met the 17-year-old Crown Prince Jigme at a public event. The little girl was immediately captivated by the handsome young prince and did something that shocked everyone present. She ran up to him and hugged him openly, then boldly declared her wish to marry him when she grew up. Although she was very young and innocent, her sincerity and fearless expression of affection marked an important moment that neither of them would forget. What happened next is like something from the most beautiful love stories. The prince was charmed by her innocence and spirit. As she grew up, they maintained a connection, and their childhood encounter blossomed into genuine love. When they finally married, their wedding captured international media attention. Here was a young king who could have chosen anyone, who could have followed tradition and taken multiple wives, but instead chose to commit his entire life to one woman based on a love that began when she was just a child. Their relationship has become a symbol of how love can transcend tradition, age, and social expectations. In a world where royal marriages are often political arrangements, theirs stands as proof that true love still exists, even in the most traditional societies. The queen has embraced her role beautifully, becoming not just a royal figure but a genuine partner in the king's vision for Bhutan's future. Together, they represent a new generation of leadership that honors tradition while embracing positive change. After learning about all these incredible facts, you're probably wondering what it's actually like to experience Bhutan as a visitor. Despite all the restrictions and challenges, Bhutan offers some of the most breathtaking and spiritually moving experiences on Earth. One of the most famous destinations is the Paro Monastery, also known as Tiger's Nest. This isn't just any monastery. It's perched on a steep cliff nearly 3,000 meters above sea level, creating one of the most dramatic and awe-inspiring sights you'll ever see. Getting to Tiger's Nest is an adventure in itself. You have to climb 850 steps over the course of about 3 hours. It's a challenging journey that tests your physical endurance and mental determination. But the reward is absolutely worth every difficult step. Besides the monastery, Bhutan is also home to the Phobjika Valley, where travelers can experience untouched natural beauty. The valley is filled with old forests, colorful rhododendrons, and traditional houses that carry the charm of local culture. Visitors can learn about the way of life here and enjoy the local rice wine, known as Ara. Another highlight not to be missed is Dula Pass. This is an ideal place to witness sunrise or sunset against the endless white snow. Dula Pass is admired not only for its natural scenery, but also as a memorial site honoring the heroes who gave their lives in the war. So there you have it, 15 absolutely incredible facts about Bhutan that prove this tiny Himalayan kingdom is unlike anywhere else on Earth. I'm incredibly curious to hear your thoughts on Bhutan's approach to life. Which of these 15 facts surprised you the most? Do you think Bhutan's focus on happiness over economic growth is something other countries should adopt? And honestly, after learning all this, would you want to visit Bhutan despite the high cost and travel restrictions? Let me know in the comments below what aspect of Bhutanese culture you find most fascinating. I read every single comment and love hearing your perspectives on these incredible places and cultures. If you enjoyed discovering these amazing facts about Bhutan, make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, keep exploring. In the center of Europe is a remarkable country that preserves a true medieval charm rarely found elsewhere on the continent. This country is the Czech Republic, also called Czechia, home to nearly 11 million people. It has no coastline and is surrounded by several neighboring nations. Covering an area of around 78,000 square kilometers, the Czech Republic and especially its capital city are convenient for travelers to explore. Today, we're diving deep into the essence of Czechia. The Czech Republic, despite being a landlocked country in the very center of Europe, offers what might be called free-spirited beaches. Along the lakes and rivers throughout Czechia, you'll discover numerous spots where people gather to swim, sunbathe, and connect with nature in the most natural way possible. Places like Křižíkova Lázně in Prague are specifically designed for those who appreciate freedom from societal constraints. These are beaches where visitors can unwind without worrying about dress codes or social expectations. Unlike the crowded, free-spirited beaches found in coastal countries like Greece or Spain, Czech versions offer peaceful, secluded environments away from tourist masses. Despite having just over 10.8 million people, representing less than 1% of the world's population, the Czech Republic produces approximately 13% of the global adult film industry. It places Czechia alongside Hungary as one of Europe's leading producers in this sector. Walking through Prague's historic streets, you might unknowingly encounter someone who has achieved international recognition in this industry. Many